2:15 a.m., the Strait of Hormuz. The night sky over the Persian Gulf is violently ripped apart by a cascading wall of fire, turning the pitch-black water into a blinding neon graveyard. Just 20 minutes ago, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps proudly broadcasted their ultimate flex to the world, declaring this critical artery permanently closed after a diplomatic meltdown. They launched a terrifying swarm of 76 Shahed 136 suicide drones, roaring through the dark alongside 12 Boghammer speedboats, expecting to overwhelm an isolated American destroyer in a humiliating spectacle. If you think 76 kamikaze drones diving at a single ship means a guaranteed multi-billion-dollar disaster for the United States Navy, then you are about to witness the most expensive miscalculation in modern naval history. The Iranian commanders are probably already high-fiving, completely oblivious to the fact that their grand display of power is about to be vaporized. Stay focused, because how this ambush ends is an absolute masterclass in brutal battlefield economics, where the U.S. Navy answers a swarm of terror with a $1 slap. Deep inside the Iranian bunker, the celebration has already started. Their strategy looks flawless, a classic asymmetrical masterstroke to bankrupt the American fleet. Prowling far above the dark waters, an Iranian P-3F Orion reconnaissance plane has locked its electronic eyes onto a lone American destroyer. The Iranian generals are doing the math, and they love the numbers. They have unleashed a massive cloud of 76 Shahed 136 suicide drones, each packing a 40-pound warhead and a laughable $20,000 price tag. Below the swarm, 12 Boghammer speedboats are tearing through the salt spray like rabid wolves. They are convinced that overwhelming a $2 billion American warship with a cheap swarm of flying lawnmowers is the ultimate checkmate. Average viewers looking at this radar screen see an unstoppable tidal wave of cheap metal swamping a massive target. But those of you with a sharp tactical mind will immediately realize this arrogant parade is marching into a high-tech meat grinder. The commanders in Tehran are already drafting their victory press release, utterly convinced that the American destroyer is currently stripping its multi-million-dollar missile silos bare just to stay afloat. But here is the catch that the Iranian planners completely missed in their primitive calculations. Down on the surface of the Persian Gulf, the crew of the U.S. warship is not panicking, not scrambling, and certainly not wasting $2 million standard missiles on flying trash cans. Instead, the ship's almighty brain, the Aegis Baseline 10 combat system, seamlessly handshakes with the newly installed AN/SPY-6 Von radar, instantly mapping all 76 incoming threats with terrifying, cold-blooded precision. The Americans are quietly letting the swarm get closer, drawing them into a very specific, invisible envelope of absolute destruction. If you ask why any sensible captain would purposely let dozens of exploding drones enter their inner defense ring, I will tell you an unbelievable military secret. Time to impact. Exactly 4 minutes and 20 seconds. The suffocating humidity of the Persian Gulf is trembling under the synchronized buzzing of 76 Iranian Shahed 136 drones, a terrifying swarm of flying mopeds packed with high explosives tearing through the night sky at 115 miles per hour. Down below, churning the black water into white foam, a wolf pack of 12 Boghammer speedboats armed with heavy machine guns and unguided rockets is rushing the perimeter. Aboard the Arleigh-Burke-class destroyer, the Combat Information Center is bathed in the cold blue glow of tactical displays, mapping every single hostile vector with ruthless efficiency. But folks, here is the lethal error in traditional naval warfare that Tehran is banking on. If you were the commander of this $2 billion fortress, staring at 88 incoming kamikaze threats, what would your next move be? The textbook response is to open the Mark 41 vertical launch cells and flood the sky with RIM 162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles or SM-2 interceptors to establish an impenetrable shield of shrapnel. But every time that launch button is pressed, the United States Navy is burning over $2 million taxpayer dollars to swat out a pathetic $20,000 piece of Iranian fiberglass. The math is catastrophically ugly, an economic bleeding out that asymmetrical warfare planners dream of in their tactical seminars. If the ship unloads its state-of-the-art missile magazines to clear out this cheap garbage, it leaves itself completely defenseless against high-end anti-ship cruise missiles later in the night. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps knows this brutal cost-exchange ratio perfectly, betting their entire pathetic little navy that the American captain will panic, exhaust his multi-million-dollar interceptors, and leave his crown jewel defenseless in the water. They desperately want to bankrupt the ship's arsenal and then stream the burning wreckage on state television. You can practically hear the cheap champagne corks popping in Tehran as they watch the glowing blips merge on their stolen radar screens, fully convinced they have finally trapped the apex predator of the oceans in an unwinnable financial checkmate. Only a casual observer would think this mighty ship is cornered. But those of you who understand the ruthless evolution of American lethality know that playing a game of checkers against the Aegis Baseline 10 combat system is a universally fatal mistake. The trap is completely set, the bait is taken, and the devastating financial bleeding is about to furiously flow, just not in the direction those arrogant commanders in the bunker are expecting. Time remaining, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. High above the Persian Gulf, cruising at a comfortable altitude 100 miles away, the crew of the Iranian P-3F Orion reconnaissance aircraft is practically throwing a party in the cockpit. The pilots are casually sipping their strong black tea, watching the telemetry data stream back to the coastal bunkers with smug satisfaction. Down in those subterranean command centers, the atmosphere is electric with unearned arrogance. Iranian generals, chests puffed out with cheap medals, are already high-fiving and congratulating themselves on outsmarting the most technologically advanced navy on the planet. They are staring at their tactical screens, watching the glowing red swarm of 76 Shahed drones and the 12 Bagamar speedboats closing the distance, believing they are about to humiliate the United States on the global stage. The commander loudly boasts to his subordinates that the American captain is probably sweating bullets, frantically calculating how many millions of dollars he is about to flush down the drain just to survive. In their minds, the $2 billion destroyer is a giant piñata full of expensive missiles waiting to be emptied by their $20,000 flying lawnmowers. It is the ultimate asymmetrical fantasy, a localized delusion of grandeur where cheap fiberglass somehow brings a superpower to its knees. They are so intoxicated by this temporary illusion of dominance that they completely ignore the eerie silence radiating from the warship. There are no frantic radio distress calls, no chaotic evasive maneuvers, and absolutely no multi-million-dollar interceptors streaking into the night sky. Ordinary viewers might think this silence is the terrifying sound of a trapped crew accepting their explosive fate. But wait, there is one more layer to this triple threat failure. Stay tuned, because the sheer physics of destruction in the next 30 seconds is about to rewrite naval warfare. Time to impact 45 seconds. The dark horizon is literally buzzing with the collective hum of 76 Iranian explosive drones. A desperate wave of low-tech terror attempting to overwhelm the Aegis combat system. Down in the bunker, the premature cheering abruptly stops when their telemetry screens register a catastrophic anomaly. The American destroyer has not fired a single interceptor missile. There are no $2 million smoke trails lighting up the night sky, no desperate close-in weapon system rattling off thousands of rounds. If you think the ship is experiencing a systems failure, you are dead wrong. Only those with a deep understanding of next-generation naval warfare will recognize the silent executioner that has just awakened on the ship's superstructure. The Aegis Baseline 10 brain effortlessly hands over the tracking data from the AN/SPY-6 radar to a weapon system Tehran simply cannot comprehend. The high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance, known as HELIOS, powers up its 60-kilowatt beam with a barely audible electronic hum. The U.S. Navy is not going to bankrupt itself playing a rigged game of financial attrition. Instead, they unleash a localized apocalypse of directed energy costing exactly $1 per shot. Most casual observers looking at this footage will wonder why there is no massive explosion from the ship. But those of you who appreciate the ruthless efficiency of cutting-edge physics know a silent kill is the most terrifying death of all. The HELIOS system locks its invisible searing beam onto the leading Shahed 136, instantly heating its pathetic commercial-grade electronics to the melting point of copper. There is no cinematic shockwave, no dramatic dogfight, Just the humiliating reality of a $20,000 suicide drone having its internal organs liquefied by a flashlight on steroids. The laser slices through the cheap composite airframe like a hot knife through butter, detonating the 40-pound warhead prematurely and turning the drone into a spectacular, harmless firework display miles away from the hull. The American gunners are sitting in their air-conditioned combat center, sipping coffee and methodically clicking to delete the Iranian swarm one by one. But here is the genius detail that makes this a masterpiece of strategic intimidation. The Iranian commanders are staring blankly at their screens, paralyzed by confusion as their drones simply vanish from the radar, melting into the ocean without the Americans firing a single conventional bullet. Stay with me, because the second act of this torch party is just getting started, and the 12 Boghammer speedboats are about to meet a terrifyingly loud physics lesson. Time remaining, 15 seconds. The sky over the Strait of Hormuz is raining molten fiberglass and flaming electronics as the HELIOS laser system methodically deletes the 76 Shahed drones from existence at $1 a pop. Inside the Iranian command center, the high fives have turned into horrified paralysis as their entire swarm evaporates into the Persian Gulf without a single American missile leaving its tube. But the 12 Boghammer speedboats, completely blind to the silent massacre happening above them, foolishly push their throttles to the absolute maximum, rushing the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer in a desperate bid for martyrdom. The commanders in Tehran are screaming into their radios, praying these unarmored fiberglass bathtubs can salvage their shattered pride. If you were the commander of the American warship, would you panic as a dozen explosive-laden boats breach your inner perimeter? Most people would expect the ship to unleash a chaotic barrage of phalanx Gatling gunfire in a desperate spray-and-pray defense. But those of you with an eagle eye for naval artillery know the true slaughter is about to be delivered by the Mk-45 5-inch gun sitting quietly on the bow. The Aegis Baseline 10 system effortlessly shifts its digital gaze from the melting drones to the speeding boats, calculating the exact trajectory, wind speed, and ocean swell in a fraction of a second. The 5-inch gun barks, not with standard high-explosive shells, but with hypervelocity projectiles, sending guided tungsten death downrange at Mach 3. The HVP rounds do not just hit the Boghammers, they physically erase them from the water. The kinetic energy transfer is so catastrophically violent that it instantly vaporizes the speedboats, turning the proud Iranian vanguard into floating splinters before they realize they are under fire. Stay focused, because the arrogant P-3F Orion crew lurking high above is about to learn a terrifying lesson. Time remaining, 0. The surface of the Strait of Hormuz is completely quiet, save for the pathetic sizzling of melted Iranian fiberglass sinking into the dark abyss. The American destroyer glides through the wreckage without a single scratch on its steel hull, defending the shipping lanes while keeping its multi-million-dollar missile silos absolutely full. The Aegis combat system just annihilated an entire hostile swarm of 76 kamikaze drones and 12 speedboats for less than the cost of a decent used car, executing the most humiliating return on investment ever recorded in naval warfare. But if you think the embarrassment ends here, I will tell you an unbelievable military secret about the arrogant P-3F Orion crew loitering 100 miles away. Those smug pilots, who were sipping tea and dreaming of American destruction just minutes ago, are suddenly deafened by the most terrifying sound in aviation. A high-pitched radar warning receiver alarm screams through their cockpit. The Iranian P-3F pilots violently spill their tea, banking their obsolete aircraft in absolute panic. Cruising 100 miles away, an American F/A-18E Super Hornet casually painted their spy plane with an AIM-120D AMRAAM. The US pilot does not even pull the trigger, simply watching the arrogant crew scramble from an invisible assassin. But here is the detail making this a masterpiece of strategic intimidation. While Iranian generals weep over their vaporized fleet, the Aegis system quietly downloaded every telemetry signal and communication protocol from the destroyed swarm. The United States Navy now possesses the exact GPS coordinates of every secret launch site along the coast, feeding that lethal data to Tomahawk cruise missiles currently spinning up in the vertical launch tubes. The next American response will not cost $1. Only tactical masterminds can answer this. If you were the Iranian commander tomorrow, how would you explain this humiliation? Tell me your Grandmaster move in the comments below.